Oh, the last time I saw you, Anne, you were sort of peering down at me imperiously from a high height doing Beat the Chasers. I mean, I nearly wet myself, to be honest.
Jolly good. That's the effect we try to have.
Jolly good. And so you're going to be in Panto again, yeah?
That's right, yes. I'm going to be at the Beck Theatre in Hayes, and we're doing Jack and the Beanstalk, and I am Mrs Blunderbore, the giant's wife.
Right.
And essentially, I am the power behind the throne. I mean, the giant sort of basically stomps around and shouts a lot, but in that relationship, I'm clearly the one who does the actual thinking.
So it's not typecasting at all?
You've always loved Panto, haven't you, right from a child?
I certainly vaguely remember being taken to see it. I think we were taken to the Palladium when I was a child. But it's more that, you know, I like having the chance to do a bit of acting. I like having the chance to, you know, actually have an audience. And it's, you know, it's live theatre, which otherwise one doesn't really get the chance to do. And it's, you know, it's something that isn't the chase.
But didn't you
so it's a nice change.
Didn't you perform together as a family when you were a kid?
Yeah, in the early 70s, I'm one of 7 cousins. And I'm the second oldest, and my older cousin and I, we sat down and used to write pantos for when all the whole family, the whole Hegerty family, would get together at Christmas, and we'd stage these pantos. And I seem to remember the last one we did was Coal Black and the 3.5 Morons. I mean, it was supposed to be Coal Black and the 7 Morons, and we realised there were only 7 of us, and we couldn't actually manage to get more than 3.5 Morons on the stage at one time because we needed other characters, otherwise nothing would happen. And I think the main problem was we wrote it in the summer of 1974, and that was the summer that Blazing Saddles came out. And an awful lot of Blazing Saddles managed to get into the script. And I think it rather went over the parents' heads. But we loved it.
And don't you ever long to play, like, the good guy rather than the villain all the time? I mean, do you think you could play, like, you know, fairy godmother or...
The only time I've ever not played a villain was 2017 in Torquay when we did Aladdin and I was the Empress of China. So, I mean, I didn't particularly want my daughter marrying this Aladdin bloke, but I wasn't actually a bad guy. That was quite fun because when you're not a bad guy, you're more involved in all the other things. It's the one and only time I've ever had a chance to do the ghost routine. You know, it's behind you. So from that point of view, it's quite nice not to be the villain. But let's face it, I generally am going to be the villain. I mean, it's me, so I would be, wouldn't I?
And what about the whole kind of Christmas thing, Anne? Do you love Christmas?
I don't object to Christmas.
Oh, I know how you feel.
For quite a long time, I've actually preferred to spend Christmas on my own, which sounds awful. It sounds sort of terribly lonely, but it's my choice. And there's a zillion places I could go for Christmas Day. And also, I just like having a day off and not having to deal with people and just being able to sort of sit around, eat mince pies, eat chocolates, watch the telly, and just that. And it's great. It's a day off. I love it.
And I've also read in your bio, Anne, that you always knew that you were going to be famous from a young age.
I don't know if that's... I always knew it. I sort of vaguely always wanted to be and thought I should be. It sounds terribly arrogant. But I wasn't at all sure what I was going to be famous for. Yeah, that's me age 6 on a beach. That's me that's me in about 1983, I think. But yeah, I just sort of always thought, you know, wouldn't it be cool to be famous? We didn't really sort of have celebrity culture in those days. I mean, we certainly didn't have reality shows or anything. But my grandfather was a publisher and he knew famous people. And I just thought, I want to be famous too. And maybe I might be able to impress him because I don't think my grandfather liked me very much. So it would have been nice to impress him.
And is it cool to be famous? Do you enjoy being well known, Anne?
I do actually. Yeah, it's nice. It's you know, people come up to you in the supermarket and they want selfies, and yeah, it's quite reassuring to know people are actually watching the show. I mean, it's brilliant that the chase continues to be so popular and so successful. That's fantastic.
Yeah. Can I ask you one question about that being the encyclopedic figure that you are, and we talk a lot about the menopause on the show, and brain fog being one of the symptoms of the menopause for a lot of women. Do you ever get that? Because I know when I came on Beat the Chasers beforehand, I was terrified that, you know, my brain would just let me down, which it did. But do you ever get that?
Not really. I mean, there are times when, you know, you can't always call the answer to mind as fast as you might like. And I probably suffer from that more than any of the other chasers because I just am slow. My thinking processes, I mean, they're fast compared to those of most people, but they're slower than any of the other chasers, which is why when we do the Beat the Chasers, I mean, I'm often not really heard from because I'm trying to get to the buzzer, but there's 5 other people that are faster on the buzzer than me. So, my menopause didn't give me brain fog. I didn't really have any symptoms of menopause except that, well, I mean, I did have one symptom, which was that my period started in 2005 and it finished in 2011. And that essentially, that was my menopause. I mean, I went to the doctor and said, my period doesn't seem to be stopping. And they kind of looked at a lot of things and did scans and things. And they said, you know, everything's normal. So I said, fine. In that case, I'm not going to worry about it. I'll just, you know, buy an awful lot of Tampax and just kind of wait it out.
Yeah. Well, as we talk more and more about it, we know that different women have very, very different experiences. And it's good that we can kind of all share it so that we know what is in the sort of realms of normality. But listen, Anne, it's always lovely to speak to you. Enjoy Panto season. Oh, yes, you will. I know you will. I'm sorry about that. There you go. Really good to speak to you.